So as you know, I had an interview this week with Senator Bernie Sanders, and I asked him about there are these reports that Biden is vetting all these Republicans like John Kasich and Jeff Flake and Meg Whitman, who just failed with her new venture Quibi, for a potential Biden administration. So I asked the senator whether anyone aligned with him in sort of his camp in the party was being vetted for a Biden administration. If not, why not? He gave this sort of demure answer that we got a little bit of insight into yesterday, why he was cagey there, but let's take a listen to that portion of the interview. Is there a single person who endorsed you or is aligned with your vision who's being vetted or considered for a Biden administration? If not, why not?
Krystal, you're going to forgive me for not, going too much into the details on this. The answer to your question is yes, there are.
So he says, yes, there are, which is news because we haven't heard any reports of anyone who endorsed him or aligned with him. So yesterday, Politico has this report that Senator Sanders himself is trying to position to be in a Biden cabinet. The thing that he wants in particular is Biden labor secretary. So they have quotes from people who are close to the senator who spoke on condition of anonymity. Of course, all the official people said, oh, he's just focused on getting Joe Biden in, and we're not talking about personnel yet. So first of all, let me just say, if he ever was made labor secretary, that would be phenomenal and amazing. And this is a position where you are able to do a lot of good for working people. Second, let me say, there's no way this is going to happen.
I was like, let me say it.
Yeah.
Let me say it. Kyle Kalinske actually was enraged talking about this. I saw yesterday because he was like, dude, if you want to be the labor secretary, then you should have made that a condition for your endorsement. You should have been like, yeah, I'll endorse you, but you have to make me a member of your cabinet and gotten that sort of guarantee. Now, as far as we know, that hasn't happened. It's far more likely somebody like John Kasich is going to be the Secretary of Labor or Commerce or whatever than Bernie Sanders. And I also point this out. Look, Secretary of Labor is an incredibly weak cabinet department if it is not aligned with the rest of the administration. So this is what people need to understand, which is that labor has very little money, very little impact on labor law and more. It has to be intersected with commerce and treasury. So let's say it did happen, but Biden does like a team of rivals type cabinet where labor is Bernie and commerce is somebody like John Kasich or a Bank of America executive or treasury, Lael Brainerd, who we've covered here, a Goldman Sachs friendly person. Treasury has like 15 times the power that labor does. And so it's like HUD, Housing and Urban Development. HUD means nothing if you don't have the backing of the White House, you don't have the backing of the rest of the administration. And I know, it's complicated to understand these dynamics, but this is how executive power actually works. This is one of the weakest departments in the government. And so, first of all, I mean, if he really wanted to push for something, it should be something better. But second, even if he got it, the rest of the Biden administration is not going to enable the work that he wants to do.
True, but even having him anywhere in the administration with any sort of prominence, any sort of power, the donors are never going to allow that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The Chamber of Commerce takes a lot of interest in what happens in the Labor Department. Under Trump, they've gotten every single one of their wishes out of the National Labor Relations Board. So the donors would freak out if Bernie Sanders had really any cabinet position, but especially this one that touches on business and commerce and their bottom line. The other thing that we wanted to bring to you, this is kind of funny actually. So let's throw this tear sheet up on the screen. There has been reporting about who Biden's potential chief of staff may be. Ron Klain seems like he is the front runner. Steve Ricchetti is also mentioned quite often. He is, none of these are like amazing progressive people, but Ricchetti in particular is very business corporate aligned. Bruce Reed is another one. So Data for Progress polled people on their views of what, these chiefs of staff and whether these are the people that Biden should pick for the administration. And the way they did it was Data for Progress and Demand Progress, by the way. And the way they did it is they accurately described these individuals' resumes because most people don't know who Steve Ricchetti and Ron Klain are. So they would describe, for example, Bruce Reed as having called for cutting Social Security and Medicare during the Great Recession as a staff director of the Simpson-Bowles Commission. They found that 74% of respondents very or somewhat concerned that someone with Reed's background would be put in as chief of staff. Ricchetti was described as a lobbyist for pharmaceutical companies and the insurance industry. No surprise that a large number of people also had problems with that background. According to the polling, the least objectionable chief of staff, and I'm reading from Politico here now, was Klain, who was described as having worked at a big corporate law firm and worked as a venture capitalist. So of the various people, none of them, by their resumes, were super exciting to the American people, but Ron Klain was apparently found to be the least objectionable as having come from a big corporate law firm and worked as a venture capitalist.
It's going to be Ron Klain. I'm almost certain of it. I mean, he was Vice President Biden's chief of staff for years. He worked point on Ebola and all that stuff. He's been working on the Biden campaign since the very beginning. I got no question in my mind it's going to be him.
It definitely seems likely, but I thought it was pretty interesting the way that they approached this, because this is very honest, who these people are and where they came from, but you don't normally hear it described in such an accurate manner.
Very true.
All right, more Rising for you after this.